Welcome back to Tarot by the Bay. I'm David, answering viewer questions from my community board. This one's from Ron Brock, 7490. President Zelensky warned that the Russians have a nuclear power plant mined and may blow it up. This would spread a horrible radioactive cloud over a big part of Ukraine. Assuming the winds are blowing that way, might blow it right back over Russia too. Would Putin really do this? And if he did, would NATO actually respond? Or would they just blow it off? Kind of like how they didn't respond to the dam. I think if it's a nuclear facility that would be blown up, they would probably respond. I did hear on the Tiki Talks today on the podcasts, or is on YouTube podcasts, that a couple of senators are bringing forward a resolution to the Senate floor that basically said if Russia blows up that nuclear plant, that would trigger Article 5 in NATO countries, and that the NATO countries would consider an act of war, an act of aggression against a NATO country. And that kind of puts the Senate in a binding pickle, as it were, because if they do that and the Russians blow it up, the Senate has to vote for war. Or I should say, this resolution itself, if they vote against the resolution, it shows the Russians that the U.S. is weak and indifferent. And if the Senate supports it, then it's putting a chip on the table to let Russia know that there's consequences for their actions. And then Putin has to decide if they're bluffing or not. So that's kind of one of the factual things that's floating around in there that has changed since you posted up your question. But let's find out. Okay. What's the current situation with that power plant and the alleged mining going on? What's the situation with that? Oh, geez. Okay, yeah. So there it is. There's the threat of that power plant being brought down with explosives, and it's at a crossroads. Somebody's going to be making decisions on that. I think we dialed in. In the past, the devil. This is a really horrible thing to do. I was once told you never pull a gun out in a fight. Not that I own a firearm, but if you have a firearm, you don't bring it and then pull it out. Because if you pull it out, you better plan on using it. You don't use it to threaten people. You better use it if you're pulling it out. If you're going to drill and add a bunch of explosives to a nuclear power plant, don't do it as a bluff. Be prepared to use it. Now, it could be a bluff. Maybe there are no explosives on this power plant. But assuming there are, this is a really dangerous thing, because if you put them there, it means you're planning on using them, which means that the threat is real. Current situation is the Chariot. The war is grinding forward. Plans are going forward. Everything's afoot. All the pieces are moving on this puzzle, and what's going to be the decision time that have with it. You can't, probably with these explosives, they're not going to undo it if they're there, So this threat, this scenario is going to play itself out. It's holding people hostage. It's holding Ukraine hostage. It's holding NATO hostage. It's even holding Russia hostage. It's holding people hostage. But again, with this card, you can back out of that hostage situation with the Eight of Swords. You can back away from the Chariot. You can undo those explosives. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, but you feel compelled to be stuck with that situation. You can think of this as the commander that's on that dam. If he's given the order to blow it up, he doesn't have to obey the order. His military career may be ruined, but only so long as Putin's alive. Lesson to be learned, there's a lot of fighting going on. There's a lot of arguing. There's a lot of action that's going to be around this whole decision, this whole event. This is not going to be an easy thing. It's not. You don't have a bunch of compliant people. I think the Russian generals are wise enough to realize that blowing up a nuclear power plant is not in Russia's best long-term interest. The outcome is the Three of Wands. It's looking for an off-ramp. It's a negotiation tool. This will be used as something as a negotiation tool with Russia and NATO. Underneath it all is the Ace of Swords. Yeah, this is something that can't be ignored. It has to be dealt with. And it has to be dealt with strongly. And you have to make sure that that an off-ramp is given so that there's hope that he's got something else coming in. It can also be that if Putin leaves, then you don't have to worry about it as much, because I don't think your regular Russian army, they're not on board with this. Okay. So that's the current situation. Does Putin really want to do this? Oh, well, okay, let's do that. That'll be that could be a 4-card. That could be a 6-card or 2, I suppose. You get into Putin's whole mindset. But you know what? I don't think it's worthy of a 6-card. That's going to be a 4-carder. It's just going to tell us, is he want to do this, and kind of why. We don't need to get into the history of it. He would do it because screw them. Pretty much. Okay, is Putin going to do this? Let's bring it on down. Okay. Is Putin going to do this? Does he want to do this? Does Putin want to do this? Well, there's your chariot card. He wants to go forward with his plans, whatever his plans are. Let's see what his plans are. Going forward with a new offer, a new threat, as it were. Oh, God. Because, he's trying to hold people hostage so that he can gain some leverage on something with whatever offer. Oh, oh, geez. Yeah, he likes threatening. Do what I want, or else. Do what I want, or else. He's trying to hold the West hostage. Oh, good Lord. All the same damn cards. Underneath it is decision. He wants to go forward with it. Honestly, he wants to go forward. He likes holding the West hostage. He likes being able to call the shots on this one. But I don't know. I want to throw to see if the military, if given that order, would actually follow through with it. So, short answer is yeah, he's not bluffing. I don't think he's bluffing on this one. Because he doesn't care. He's of a mindset of screw Ukraine anyways. But I don't, that guy's got, I believe he's got cancer, colon cancer, and some argue he's not even alive. I don't know if the military support this. Whoops. Okay, so that was the High Priestess. Wisdom there. The military is not going to support this. They're smarter than that. Let's see what else we get. Fighting from advantage. The military, I think they've got the advantage. Again, we're going to cross this with the High Priestess. The High Priestess between this, they're smart enough to realize that this is not the long-term strategy for them. It would be, if the order is given, they would have to act quickly to belay that order, because the whole world would be impacted on this one. And there we go. Their High Priestess popped up again. Yeah. They're not going to do it. They will not support this. Absolutely not. They're not going to rush forward and destroy the world. That's just tomfoolery. So they will fight against that, because they've got a much better, they have a much longer plan than Putin has. So yeah, the Putin may want to do it, but the military will not support it. They absolutely, positively will not support it. Would NATO actually respond? Well, I don't think NATO's going to have to worry about it. I don't think NATO's going to have to worry about it. But we can ask, right? I mean, it's in a scenario spirit. NATO is responding, right? They're already the U.S. is responding by saying NATO nations would consider it Article 5. So in a way, that already is a response. But let's look at the response if Russia actually blew this up. If somehow Putin forced his will and this thing blew up, and the aliens, we got the fighting from advantage card again. The aliens didn't stop it. I just don't think it's going to happen, my friend. I don't think you have to worry about this. But would NATO respond? Be holding on tight. What are they holding on tight to? It's a foolish thing. Secrets would be out there helping. There we go. Fighting with advantage. I think they would close ranks. NATO would close ranks. I don't think they would come back with a nuclear response, but I think they would put crushing sanctions on the Russians if there aren't already. And I think the U.S. would raise their support by an order of magnitude. Russia would basically have started a war. It may not be a nuclear war, but the U.S. would, I think they would pull out the stops. It might be clandestine. You might get special forces in there. There might be an assassination attempt on Putin, a regime change, because he's dangerous at that point. If the U.S., if they had a way to do missile strikes, or I think they would assassinate him. I think they would assassinate him. They would find a way to remove him. They would get partisans out there. They would get mercenaries. They would get assassins after him. They would use their agencies, their secret agencies, the NSA, the CIA, and whatever agencies we don't know the names of, to get in there and move against Putin. And this would be the end of the Russian regime. And the U.S., while they were dealing with this, trying to hold it all together, they're fighting from a position of strength because they would have irregular means of dealing with it. That doesn't mean that there wouldn't be devastation in Ukraine and the surrounding areas from this, but it would be the end of Putin. The U.S. would pull off the gloves, and they absolutely positively would get rid of this guy. So, okay. That's my thoughts on it. I don't think you have to worry about it. I don't think the Russian generals want to do this either. The only person who wants to do it is Putin. So I hope this puts your mind at ease a little bit there, Ron. I'm not too worried about it. Well, thank you for asking. I hope it puts other people's minds at ease too. And again, thank you everybody for supporting my channel, and I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.